Hello, everyone, and welcome to the second Python live session. Sorry for the earlier false starts. There were some problems with my settings, and I couldn't uh, I couldn't share my screen. So, why don't we just get started right away and learn about Python lists today? So, I'm just very excited that uh, we have so many people interested in these sessions, and I'll try to make it as much fun and interesting as possible. I'm also aware of that many of us have not done much programming or any programming either, so I have to even cover some topics during these sessions which are very basic to programming and of course to Python. At any point in time, I'm happy to get your feedback via text or in the live chat. So, all right. So that's what I'm going to do now today. I hope you can see my screen clearly and hear me. Alrighty. So let's do it. Okay. So um, now. Uh, Lists are essentially, if you heard of arrays are nothing but a way to store multiple uh, data items sequentially uh, and also to be able to access it. So they're just nothing but a data structure or data store in a program. Now, yeah, if you remember, variables contain just one single data store, and that's why we created data structures like arrays and lists, which, as you can guess, contain multiple data stores. So that's what is our topic today. We are trying to uh, learn about lists. You might have seen in real life lists of things like when we go buy when you have to buy grocery, we prepare a grocery list, right? And let's say in the grocery list we need let's say we have to buy um, um bread, milk, eggs, and a couple of other things, right? So we will typically create a list and we will go from there, right? Now, anybody who's online, please say hello so that I know who's online. And because YouTube doesn't provide real life information on the participants, all right. So please say hello. Hi, Obito. Thanks for joining. All right. At any time, please feel free to provide me feedback if you cannot hear me, or if I'm not able to explain anything clearly. Uh, Please feel free to let me know. So now, so lists, as I said, can contain any type of variable, and they can contain as many variables as you wish. Lists can also be iterated over in very simple manner. I will show you how. Now, um, how do we build a list? In this, as you remember from the previous session, on the left side, there's a program which I'm going to uh, probably manipulate a bit and then run. Click run, and then you'll see the results of execution of the program on the right side in the IPython shell. Okay, now towards the end of the session, I will also have a little exercise, right? So let's keep it interactive as much as possible. Now, if you see, how do we declare a list, right? How do we initialize a list in Python? In this, if you see in this statement, we are initializing a list called mylist, and the way to do that is have two square brackets. If you see without any space, I'm just trying to make it clear that it's two square brackets. This essentially creates a variable with an empty list. Now, it's very simple. My list dot app, and then again, what happens? How do you add items to the list? Let's say you to add eggs or bread or milk or apples. Uh, in this case, we are trying to add three numbers. So as you can guess, we use append. Append essentially adds one item to the end of the list. And similarly, we are appending the number 2 and we are appending the number 3. So just please notice that these are parentheses, not really square brackets. So please be careful. Uh, these parentheses are used to uh, pass arguments to a function, while these square brackets are, are used either to initialize a list or to access a item in the list. So moving forward, if you see now we see the print statement. Print does nothing but display the output to the console, and uh, we if you see what it is doing, what my list 0 doing with square brackets uh, is accessing these is accessing the first item in the list. Why 0? Because lists are a 0 based index, so that the first item's position is 0, or position is also called index, and the second item is 1 and third item is 2. So please make a note of that. So my list 0 will get you 1, the number 1. My list 1 here, as you can see, will get the number 1, and my list 2 will get the third item, which is 3. Now, what's interesting is there are two ways to print the three numbers in the list. One is to just manually print it, have three statements. Another is to just say, hey, for a variable x in my list, we just print x. X is nothing but one of the items. So if you have multiple items in the list, you can just say for x in my list, print x, or whatever you want to do with x, right? Now, I hope we are okay so far. So I will execute these statements and show you what happens. Now, just make a note of the first 1, 2, 3. We are essentially, uh, I mean, the first 1, 2, 3 you see here is the output of these three statements, where you're manually accessing the list and list items and then printing it out. Now, what are these? Where do these come from? These three, they come from this statement: for x in my list, print x. So I hope that's clear. If not, please let me know in chat. Moving on, I guess that was fairly easy and obvious. We will move on to the next item here. It's a very important thing to know about lists, are just like similar to arrays. We haven't covered arrays, so I won't talk about them right now. But uh, list, if you see here in the first statement, we are declaring my list equals 1 to 3. We are declaring the my list variable with the elements 1, 2, 3. So just like last time, we declared, or we initialized a variable uh, with empty list. We created an empty list here. In this case, we are just adding three items with commas, and that's another way to initialize and list with some elements already in it. And then if we see the next statement, we are trying to print my list 10. If you remember, my list 10, I mean, just make a note of that these are square brackets, these are not the parentheses. So my list 10 essentially gives you the 11th element, but we have just three elements here. What do you think will happen? Because there is no 11th element. I will execute here and this statement and show you what happens. It just says that uh, line 2 has a problem, and this is the problem. This is the problem statement. Uh, you see this? It says index error, list index out of range. So what this means that if you remember, this 10 is nothing but index or the position of the element, and since we have just three here, three elements, we do not have the 11th element. So obviously, it says that index is out of range. Our range was only three numbers, right? Three items. This was fairly simple, but please make a note of it when you write Python programs or any other language. That when you're accessing arrays and lists, the index should not go out of range. So, yep. Now the fun part, we will do a little exercise. You will need to add numbers and strings to the correct list in this exercise and using the append list method. You must add the numbers 1 to 3 to the numbers list and the words hello and world to the strings variable. So there are two variables, numbers and strings. And then we have to add 1 and 2 and 3 to the numbers list and um, hello and world to the strings variable. Now the second part is uh, we have to fill the variable second underscore name with the second name. Second name is Eric here in the names list. And using the brackets operator, let's see how we're gonna do it. And if you remember, the indexes are zero based. So if you want to access the second item in the list, its index will be 1. That's very important. A lot of people make this mistake and the results are not right. So let's take a look at the code or the problem we have. We have a numbers list declared here which as an empty list. We have a strings list declared uh, as an empty list. Now, our first problem is to add numbers and strings to the correct list using append list method. We saw just a few minutes back how append is used. Now let's do this. For now, for our sake, I'm not going to type everything. I'm just going to copy paste here. So we have to add the numbers 1, 2, and 3 to the numbers list. That's fair. So we are gonna just do this. I'm just going to change the variable name here to our variable called numbers, and this should probably do it. We'll see. We'll see in a few minutes. And to the numbers list, we have to add the words hello and world. That's fair. So what we have to be careful about is we have to be careful about two things. We have to essentially we have to use a variable after it's declared. We should not use a variable before it's declared or we will get an error. So all right, now we have to append items to names string next, right? The first part is done, numbers are added. Now we have to add names. So names.append. If I try to, can I do this? If I try to append names before the variable is declared, before this string is declared here, we're gonna get an error, and we should not do that. All right, let's do this. So names.append, what do we have to append? We have to append hello and world, right? So I'm gonna just copy and paste this here, and then interestingly, second name is declared as second name variable is declared here as none. None is equivalent of null in other languages. So in Python we say none. Python just tries to be more a human-friendly language, so they use the word none. They use the keyword none instead of null. Now, so second name, what's the problem here? You will have to fill the word second name with the second name in the list. Now, how do we access the second name? Well, if you try to recall how we accessed any uh, anything at all, any item at all, right? Any item in the list at all, we use the square brackets. So now we're going to use the square brackets and assign we are gonna use the square brackets to uh, access the second element. Element has a index of 1, and it's definitely the name is not the name is not the name is not. I made a mistake here. If you see, nobody told me. Okay, if you see me making mistakes, please let me know. All right, so essentially we were supposed to add hello and world to this to strings, and I was adding it to names. Okay, now second name equals my list bracket square brackets 1 essentially will get us the second name in this names list. Now, did I say my list? No, it should, it should, that's wrong. It should be names, right? So second name equals names 1. That seems about right. And I'm kind of confident that this is gonna solve this part of the third part of the problem and give us the give us Eric now. Now there's already some code written here for us. Uh, Print numbers, print strings. If you see, we are trying to print numbers here and strings. We're trying to print the whole list here, not a specific item in the list. I wonder how that's going to look like. Because if you see, normally we are printing just one item here, my list 0, which prints the first item. But in this case, this is interesting. We are trying to, one more, we are trying to print the whole list at the same time. I wonder how it's going to look like. Let's see after a few minutes, after a few seconds. Now, one more thing we should notice is this print statement is slightly different. It uses something called string formatting. So if you see, there's this literal string which says the second name on the names list is %s. %s is nothing but a placeholder for this variable that you're passing in the print statement. So you can pass uh, variables as well in the print statement and use %s to replace that passed variable in the print statement. So we'll talk about this thing in more detail another day. So let's submit the solution and see if it works. Wow, looks like we did not make a mistake this time. Okay. Wow. So if you are we right here? Let's see. Um, Now the first part of the assignment was to print numbers and to essentially append 1, 2, and 3 to numbers and then print it, which looks good. 1, 2, 3. Look at how print numbers looks like. It puts numbers 1 to 3 in square brackets and the whole list. It prints the whole list. Similarly, strings. Similarly, print strings prints out the whole uh, list with the strings hello and world separated with a comma, just like the one above, and in square brackets. So it's printing out the whole list. Now, what happened to the last part of the problem, last part of the exercise? Um, the second name on the names list is %s. If you remember, %s should be replaced with this variable second name. Now, The second name on the names list is Eric, which is very interesting, which is as we expected. Now, what happens if I say, let's say I try to access the third element and say names too. Let's try to see if this works. Wow, look at this. We just got this error index list index out of range. Why? Because names 3 essentially is refers to the fourth element, but there are only three elements. So let's try to access this last element here, names 2. Now, look at this. It says the second name on the names list is Jessica. Please ignore this output. Is the previous output. Now the latest output is this. Uh, it says it shows us the second name on the list is Jessica. So looks like I mean our this program this exercise says that did you fill the variable second name with the second name in the list? Of course, we did not. So this guy is able to, although we don't have an error as such, uh, we did not pass the exercise because we were accessing the wrong one, wrong item. Now I corrected and submitted again, and looks like everything is good because the second name on the names list is Eric here, and we that brings us to the end of the live stream. Hopefully, we learned something good today. And we will try to keep doing it with short 15-20 minutes sessions in future. Please provide your feedback, like this video, and comment, provide your feedback via comments, as well as subscribe to the channel so that I can make more helpful live streams as well as videos for you. Thank you so much. Bye bye. Have a good one.